Greetings, survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here. I'm back from my holidays now, and I think I chose the right time to go, because not much happened last week, did it? But boy, oh boy, this week is an update and a half. Firstly, I know I produce these videos for you as an easy to digest and I hope enjoyable alternative to reading the dev blog, but this week Helk took the opportunity to get a few things off his chest, and if you do get the time, I'd recommend you read what he had to say, because I'm just going to have to do my best to paraphrase it here for you. Long story short, this week we have the first pass at a revamp to resource gathering, because Helk's really not a happy bunny with the state of this aspect of the game right now. As it is, he says, thanks to things like junk piles and being able to get a little bit of everything from every node, most of the stuff you need is available everywhere on the map, and although this may be convenient, it's unstrategic, gives no sense of achievement, and as he puts it, it's very muddy. So, what changes do we have? Well, for a start now, specific nodes produce specific resources, so stone nodes only produce stone, metal nodes only produce metal, and yes, you guessed it, sulfur nodes only produce coal. No, just kidding, sulfur. Their distribution has changed slightly as well, with the temperate biome having more stone nodes than any other type. There's now a finishing bonus to them as well, which means that doing the decent thing and polishing off a node will yield an extra 20% of the total. This should help prevent half-mined ones littering the place and thus improve performance. Please note though that this bonus won't trigger if you're using really early game stuff together, such as rocks and bone clubs. You'll need at least a stone pickaxe to get it. Lastly, and perhaps most controversially, high-qual ore will be restricted to metal nodes now. It will only be received as a finishing bonus, and you'll get one per node. You can of course still get high-qual through recycling or trade, but as far as mining for it goes, the quarry is set to become a lot more important. Something that will most likely be addressed with more changes next week, but in the meantime, they now cost a lot less to craft, needing only 5,000 wood, 1,500 frags, 6 gears, and 4 sheet metal a pop. Something else that's possibly being looked at is shown in this picture, and no, it's not radioactive nodes. Helk's thinking of spicing things up by adding a mini-game whereby hitting hotspots and chaining them can yield you a lot more. They may even only be visible under certain lights, such as that emitted by the miner's hat, but watch this space and I'll keep you up to date, and remember, at the moment, nothing is set in stone. If you were paying attention back there, you probably noticed that the visuals from hitting nodes have changed somewhat, thanks to some new particle effects and better models for partly destroyed ones. However, as a knock-on effect to this, explosions from rockets, etc. were also revisited, and wow, do they look a lot better. As well as this, there's a screen shake effect which varies in intensity depending on the type of blast and how close it is to your frontal lobe. In another major change this week, decay was adjusted significantly. Dropped items will decay a lot slower than before. It also depends on what the items are and their rarity. For instance, seeds will disappear in around 5 minutes, but AKs and C4 will stick around for about an hour. This means more time to retrieve your stuff and a major blow to despawning loot during raids. Deployables had a change to their decay too. Now they'll only rot when placed outdoors. This means it's worth checking abandoned bases again, and to go with this, storage containers will not have their decay reset when interacted with anymore. You'll need to use a hammer for that instead, so ones in the wild will end up disappearing no matter how many times they get checked. Please note though that this doesn't affect small stashes. Because some stuff will be sticking around for a lot longer, there was also a big change to corpses and boxes too. Now, instead of items spewing out all over the floor, destroyed boxes will leave a neat little pouch behind with their contents in, and corpses will magically turn into a backpack, much like in Legacy. This is obviously much better for performance, and the amount of time these hang around before decaying depends on the rarity of the items inside. I'll also just mention here that for server owners, there's a new convar to adjust the amount of time it takes for a corpse to turn into a backpack, and that is, unsurprisingly, corpse despawn, with the default being 300, which equates to 5 minutes. There were some great quality of life fixes for dropped items in this update too. Firstly, things like debris and ragdolls will no longer block you from picking items up. World models will now displace grass, which makes them a ton easier to find, and the friction was cranked up a notch too, meaning that dropped items will no longer slide off into the distance distance like an otter in a Vaseline factory. You might also like to know that this applies equally to grenades, which thanks to having their friction, weight and throw velocity adjusted, should now end up a lot closer to where you want them to go. There were some other small changes to mention as well. Firstly, you no longer have to press a hotkey twice to consume an item in your belt bar. You can no longer put items into any loot containers, and thirdly, you can now hold down the left mouse button to constantly hit with the hammer. In performance, you'll be glad to know that a big improvement to textures is on the way. You can read the full thrilling breakdown in the dev blog, of course, but suffice to say that a saving of around 20% or more to system and video memory is possible with hardly any discernible difference to quality, and the total number of textures needed under this new system could drop by nearly half, which will obviously help a lot of you out there. Look out for this to be implemented in the coming weeks. To works in progress now. Not much to report on the NPCs, sadly. There's an issue with nav meshes in rad towns right now, to which a solution is being sought. Not much else to say either regarding the new launch site dungeon and rework to Happis, other than that they're on schedule to hit us squarely between the eyes in next week's Forced Wipe. And lastly, who are these chaps? Well, they're basically the result of some new variation for player heads that are being worked on. No firm date on any of this, but if it pans out, then we can all expect to wake up one day with a fresh new mug, which will no doubt please everyone immensely, I'm sure. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and sub to the channel on your way out. I am, of course, more than happy to have you follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and the Steam group too, so do pop along there, and I shall catch you all in the next vid. But until then, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.